Uh, Hi guys, can you hear me? Yes, Dipali.
Yes.
Yeah, so good evening everyone. So this is gonna be our last day for our session, and we are very sorry for not conducting the sessions because this was the exam time. That's why we decided not to disturb you guys. So what we will be doing is we will be teaching you the last model as well as how you can implement it, and after that we will be assigning you the project. And the deadline for the project is 10th of January. If there is any problem, then we may extend it to 12th of January. So that's it from my end. So once Smith explains you the whole model and as well as the code, and after that I'll be showing you how you can use GitHub to submit your project. So that's all from my end. Now I hand it over to Smith. Smith, you can continue.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. First of all, how are you, everyone? It's been a long time since we conducted last sessions. I informed you to devise some decision tree concepts. If you're done, that's good thing. If you haven't, then I will just briefly give some idea what the decision trees is. So basically, in decision trees, there are multiple attributes. Okay, there are mainly three components. One is root node, which is the topmost node, and the other two are leaves and intermediate nodes. So the thing to remember and to note is that in tables, when we have table of data, we generally have tables. Okay, and then we have table columns, right? So all those column represent some like all those data represent some relationships with each other, like all the columns are related to each other. Okay, and we know that in the tables, like there are some input data, and there is also one column which contains the output data, right? So what we do is we just find the relationship between the output column of the table with all other columns which we use it as input columns. Okay. So like there are just basically dependent columns, and there are some independent columns. So independent columns are inputs for our models, and the dependent column is our output. Like we try to find output from inputs using a machine learning model or any model, right? So what happens in decision tree is uh, like this smaller part, this area, sorry, and this is a tree. Okay, so we represent trees like this, and what we do in trees to formulate these trees is we have data in columns and column names, so we formulate some questions on the basis of columns. Okay, on the basis of what the data we have, so we formulate questions, and according to questions, if the answer is yes or no, for example, if column contains data of gender, okay, then it may be male or female. So we formulate a question: is it a male? If yes, then go towards this side. If not, then go towards this side, right? So that like similarly, we formulate questions, and we try to create this tree. Okay, so this intermediate nodes, all these intermediate nodes are questions. Okay, and the last node, which we call leaf nodes, are the outputs. Okay, so we basically try to do is find the relationship. Okay, if we have one row, one data point, and we question that, like one row have all the column values, right? One column values, like all the user have gender, their user ID, and like that, right? So for one row, there is one value for each column. Okay, for every row there is one value for each column. So like that, we formulate a question according to columns. Like is in the column of gender, is it male or female? If yes, is if it is male, then this we come here. Then we formulate another question. If in the column of salary, if the salary is greater than 50,000, if yes, then we go forward here or else here. So like that, get then we formulate a question on next column. So likewise, we formulate questions, and according to their answers, possible answers, we try to formulate trees like this. Okay, so we end up with trees, and after considering all the questions of each column, finally we check the output. If if the output is in form of 0 or 1, then we last two leaves, right here you can see these are two, both the leaves. Okay, these are both are leaves. So if the last question would be on the target, on the output column. Okay, like is the output 1 or 0? Then if 1, then here, or if 0, then here. So likewise, we formulate trees. If you want to learn deeper how decision trees work, then you can refer that video on YouTube. I have shared the link in the WhatsApp group. Now there is some like backdoors when we try to implement those decision trees. What are those backdoors are? That decision trees are what we can say, consider the input space or input data too much. Like it we can tell that concept as overfitting. It overfits the data. Okay, so it basically hard codes all the questions, all the data points. It hard codes the questions, and accordingly um, accordingly it tries to formulate the tree. So it considers all the points, and it tries to it basically does the hard code segregation of data. Okay, and in real case that is not and the actual that is not the very useful. Why? Because we may find in real life that all the attributes are same. Like if a person have all the attributes same, which are valuable attributes like salary. If we try to find that if the mobile phone costs 60,000, and we try to find the relationship of uh, user buying or not, user buying the phone or not on the basis of the salary. Okay, so if we consider that if the salary of the person is more than 60,000, then he buys. Okay, and if the salary is not more than 60,000, then he did not buy, right? So basically the attribute is same, but the output may different. Like even if the user have even if the customer have more salary, he can afford the mobile phone, but he doesn't buy. Okay, so that is possibility, right? So like those edge cases, there are some edge cases which are not considered, or on which this decision tree fails to predict the correct prediction. So basically we can say that the drawback of the decision tree is that it overfits the data. Okay, so uh, okay, now decision tree is quite clear, maybe. Okay, so that was the problem. Now that problem needed to be solved, right? So there is a very good intuition which I would like to share with you, that and let's consider a scenario. Okay, let's consider there is a boy named John. Okay, so I'm trying to create an intuition for this random forest. Okay, so like why random forest needed, or how this random forest came into picture in real life. Okay, so how this idea was born. Okay, so basically, what is first of all, what is random forest is? Random forest is this it uses multiple uh, decision trees. Okay, so it would be more fun to understand it using intuition. Okay, so let's consider there is a boy named John. Okay, and he's an average student. Okay, not that good in studies. Okay, so due to this pandemic, the exam was online. Okay, and the mode of exam was also changed. Let's consider the teacher gave the liberty to that student can coordinate with each other, and they can help each other. Okay, but the condition was that the exam would be very very tough. Okay, student can help each other, but the exam would be very very tough. So The students were allowed to collaborate and help each other. So, like the John, the boy in our case, tried to formulate the group with intelligent students. Okay, but they didn't gave him the entry, or they didn't included John in their group. Okay, so and what John did is he formulated his own group of average students. Okay, now they created a plan to study and to study all the syllabus. Okay, but like as I mentioned, all the students were average students. Okay, in John's group, so they studied the syllabus. But on the exam day, like the exam was very very tough, as I mentioned earlier. So like they were not that confident. Like if all students solved their answers, okay, by their own, but they were not confident that whatever I have solved is correct or not, because the exam was very tough. So what John did is, and he created an very brilliant idea that what if we consider uh, what if we all solve individually all the questions, and then um, take the maximum, take the maximum voted answer, right? So uh, like uh, if there are four options, and out of 8 people in the group, 5 people tells that the answer is option B, and only 3 people tells that the answer is option A, then maximum would be the answer, right? In that case, option A, B would be the answer, because they have 5 votes. Okay, so to make them confident, they tried to collaborate like that. They took all individuals' answers and then tried to they voted for the answers. Okay, so that kind of working is used in this that kind of working is used in random forest. Okay, so as this is an example, like what it does is, in case of student, like instead of student, we have decision trees. All decision trees predict some output. After that, there is some voting for their outputs, and then there is a final output. Okay, after voting. So let's start with like basic concepts about random forest. So I hope this intuition was little bit clear. Like similar concept is used in here as well. Okay. So what in random forest is happens is, it uses decision trees. Okay. Before moving on, let's see what is the concept of begging. Okay, whatever what I just told you now, and that this intuition, how these people collaborate and took all the different answers from each other, and then voted, and then try to find try to conclude it that this would be the answers. Okay, so this scenario of working together is like begging. Okay, the concept of begging is using multiple, in this case people, to find one answer. Okay, using brains of multiple people to find one answer. In terms of technical terms, if we want to understand this concept, then we can refer it as using multiple models. Okay, using multiple models to predict a single output. What happened in decision trees? Decision tree was one model. Okay, we used it, we predicted it, but we found it that it is it was overfitting. Okay, so what in random forest, what we did is, we tried to use this concept of begging, which is using multiple things to do one task. Okay, so we used multiple models to predict one output. Okay, so this type of learning mechanism, or this kind of models, we can say, this type of learnings are called as ensemble learning. Okay, there are multiple different models as well, which are basically not a single model, but they are combination of models. Okay, so there are combinations of models which we call and we refer to them as ensembles learning models. Okay, so this is basically using multiple things to do one task. Okay, then that was the concept of begging. All right. Now we come on, like in this case, the case of random forest. Okay, random forest like falls under this type of models. Okay, ensemble models. So in random forest, we use multiple decision trees. Okay, we use multiple decision trees to predict a single output. We will see how this happens. Okay, um, in this bagging mechanism, there are two steps to achieve this whole concept. Okay, to actually implement this whole, actually this process is a two-step process basically. Okay, so there is one step bootstrapping and another one is aggregation. Okay, so now it will become little technical. We will talk about how data is split and all. Okay, so what is bootstrapping is, uh, in case of random forest, we have a large table. Okay, or we can say we have a large data set. Okay, we have large data set. You can visualize as a table, or you can visualize it as a graph, and there are multiple dots. Okay, those are data points in the data set. Okay, so what we do is we pick randomly in random fashion with repetition. Okay, we pick random data points from the graph, or you can also like imagine it as we pick random rows from the table. Okay, but with repetition, which means that uh, when we choose multiple times, the same data row or the same data point can be there in two different samples. Okay, so when we pick, what we do is we pick small data samples. We call small data samples, and they are picked in random fashion with repetition. Okay, so we pick n times. Okay, why we pick n times? So uh, to decide how many times we should pick. Okay, how many times should we create sample data? Okay, data samples. So these are basically data samples. Okay, we have one large training data set, and we try to create small different data samples. Okay, so it can be any number. Okay, but how we should decide that how many number we want. Okay, or how many times we should create data samples, or how many data samples. Then here we need to consider that, as we seen in the intuitions, that if there was 8 student, and we did the voting and we got the ratio of 5:3. Okay, now if my group was of 20 people, okay, then I would consider 20 inputs. Okay, I would consider 20 votes. So here we need to decide that how many votes do we need to consider. Okay, so it can vary, there is no fixed rule to decide this, but we can do trial and error, and we can find that what number is suitable for our training data set. Okay, then what we do is we find this number, this is try and error type of thing. Okay, we decide n using try and error, and we create those much data samples, n data samples. Then what we do is, as I mentioned, that we need to first consider how many words we want. So if I have if I want to use three, let's consider three models. Okay, to I want three votes before deciding the final output. If I want three votes, I will create three models. Indirectly means I want to use three model instead of one. So I would create three data samples. Okay, so like creating data samples is just picking random data points. Okay, and one more thing we do is we will consider that later. Okay, after getting three models, okay, three data sets, we train each model with different data sets. Okay, so for example, if we have three models and three data sets, m1 would be trained on s1, m2 will be trained on s2, and likewise. Okay, so no two data sets are trained on two different models. Okay, one model, one data set. And after training the model, okay, when we try to predict on each of those model, they might create or they might produce different answers, right? because there are different data points. Like that's why there might be different answers, there might be same answers. So what we do after that is we find this random forest is also used for classification as well as regression. So there are two cases. Uh, After training the model, when we predict the output, there might be different or same outputs. So what we do with those individual outputs, we take maximum or majority votes for classification. Okay, if we want to we are doing classification problem, then we take the majority votes. Okay, and if the problem is of regression, then we find the average of all prediction, or there are digital values. Okay, regression values. Okay, like all these output are different, then we find the average of those all predictions, and we use we tell that this is the final output of the model, the random forest model. Okay, one more thing to consider while designing or while understanding the concept is that here that here I just mentioned that we only divide the training data into different small data samples, right? But what happens in this case in bootstrapping? What happens is we segregate the data, okay? But these models, okay, these models are same, okay? The parameters of model or the attributes of model are same. Like basically the feature of model which on the basis of which the model is built are same, but this only this sample data sets are different. But in case of random forest, we do one more modification to get better results, is that we use different features as well. So basically the type of model remains same, but the model is not exactly the same. Okay. So let's go on one another intuitions that let's consider an example that we have six features. Okay. We have users age, we have users gender, we have users salary, likewise. Okay. So we have total six features and we have data of 1,000 users. Okay. So what we do now is in random forest is when we create this M1 and M2 and M3 models, we use we don't use say as all the same features. Okay, in all of those models, we use different set of features in different models. Means in this case in bootstrapping, this suppose in this case the M1, M2, and M3 was like all of three was very built upon six features. Okay, and those six features were same in all the three models. But now to change like to not depend on the same feature or like why we do this we will see it later. But what happens in random forest is we use only few features, and why few features, because to make this votes like what you can say diversity in the votes. Okay, so if we have six features, we use one to first feature, second feature, and third feature for M1 model. Then for M2 model, we use first, third, and sixth. And for M3 model, we use second, fourth, and fifth. Okay, so we basically want to diversify this all these models. Okay, so if you want to understand that if you want to solve any problem, if all the engineers or not engineers, like all the people from the same field or from the same office comes and tries to solve the model, like they might have same approach of looking at the problem, right? So we want to diversify this approach. Okay, so we want to consider votes from different aspects. Okay, so this basically does that only, that when we change these features. Okay, so what it does is the prediction of first model depends on these three features. The prediction of second model depends on these three features. So from where the predictions are coming is different. Okay, like it is on the same data point only, but their view is different. Okay, let's consider if this one considers salary. Okay, to predict if user buys a phone or not. Then this one might consider a gender, like okay, if the color is pink or not, the color of mobile. Okay, likewise, and so basically to diversify the votes, we use different features for different models. So we have different models, we have different votes, and then we try to do the same thing. Like in case of classification, we take majority class, voted class, and in case of regression, we use the average of all these predictions. And for example, if we have like image and we want to classify, then what we do is like inside the regression, inside the random forest model, we have many decision trees. Okay, so we feed this input while testing. We feed this input to all of those decision trees, and all of them are like have different perspective. Okay, according to their features, so they predict according to their settings, or according to their learnings. Okay, and their output might be different. So this is the case that I mentioned, that if all of them predict individual predictions, and then we find the maximum. In this case, it was regression classification problem. So two predicted apple class A, and one predicted class B banana. So the final output or final prediction would be apple, because it is majority vote. And similarly, like as I mentioned, that we this is one training data sample. Okay, one, two, three, and n, and all those data samples are only fed to one decision tree, not all of them. Okay, this one data set is only fed to one. So that like to diversify the model, basically, if we like share this data sample with all of them, then it would like all of the decision trees learning would be same, right? So we basically does that, and then we take the voting of the predictions and make the final prediction. So that's the basic like a concept of random forest, which was built on top of decision trees. Okay, so I hope this is understood, or if you have any question in this concept, then you can ask. This aggregation is this combination of votes. Okay, yeah. If you, any of you have question, then please ask now, or else we will move on to implement the actual implement the actual random forest, like how we will code this model and train the model and all. So any question? Okay. If anybody have any question, then you can unmute and ask, or you can write in the chat box. Okay. Then I think we should move on to implementing and how to code this model. Okay. So let's like I hope you have like opened your notebooks side by side. So if not, then please open your notebooks, and then we can start coding. Yeah. So should I consider that everyone is ready with the notebooks? Then I think we can start. Are you ready? Uh, okay. So yes. Okay. All right. So first of all, we will need some data, right, to work upon. So I will share you a link. You can paste it on the, like I will share it in the WhatsApp group, and you can download a data set from there. Let me share it. Mhm. I have shared the link in the WhatsApp group, and I will also share it in the chat box. You just need to click on the link, and it will be automatically downloaded. The project only between Yash and me. No, actually, not like that. We will have projects for individual. Like we will and ask you to build. We will give you data set and we will ask you to formulate a model. You have to try different models, okay, on that, whichever we have learned or whichever you like to implement, and then like on the basis of that performance we will identify and like what things you do. We will discuss it at the end, like what exactly you need to do, okay, for the project. It would be for everyone, not only Yash and you both, okay. So let's start with coding. Mm, I hope you are like the dataset is downloaded and ready. You have to upload it in the Colab. Okay. So what you can do is you can just drag and drop here, or you can right click here and click on upload. Okay. Uh, is everyone ready? Should we move on? Yes. Okay. All right. So uh, let's start. First of all, just a moment. Yeah. Uh, First of all, we will read the CSV file. So we will need pandas. Okay. So import pandas, SPD. Then we will see one by one. Okay. All right. So now we will read this. Okay. Let's say data set equals pd dot read CSV and name of the file. CV underscore data. So CSV. Yeah, it should work. Yeah, data set. So as you can see, in the dataset we have like I choose the simple dataset to make it easier to understand. Okay, and what we have is user ID, we have gender, we have age, estimated salary, and purchase. So this database was taken. I took it from the this dataset represents user data from a car manufacturing company. Okay, and what they want is that they have created a new model of SUV. Okay, and the problem is that they want to of this car advertise the car, and they have user data, so they only want to advertise to the potential customer, like who can buy or who want to buy. Okay, so they don't want to like spend extra money to showing all of them. Okay, so we need to predict who will buy or who will purchase the car and who will not on the basis of that this data. Okay, uh, and like that is the main aim of doing this. We need to find out should we will they purchase or not, and on the basis of that we will show them advertise or not. Okay, so we have this data set ready, and now we will take the we will first like split not split but assign the x and y values. What are x and y are dependent and independent variables, or we can say target column and all other columns. Okay, so we have in the x is independent columns like this, but which column should we consider? First questions. Okay, should we consider all the columns or which columns? Let's say we need to this is the purchase. Okay, this is the target. We want to identify if they purchase or not. So what should be our target column? This one, right? Purchase. But now what should be our input column? That is the question. What should be our input column? See, there may be lots of data, but not all the data are valuable, or like not valuable. Uh, there are multiple so much data, but not all the data are useful. Okay, in some cases they might be useful in other cases, but not cannot be useful in some cases, right? So if you want to like find a purchase, okay, so does like should we consider all of these columns, or should we omit some columns? What do you think? You can write in the chat box. Okay, so tell me what should we consider, like, or what should we omit? Which column should not consider while finding the relationship with purchase? Is there any guess? Okay, all right. I will tell only. This user ID. Okay, does this user ID make any difference while predicting? Yes, no. You can write it on in the chat box. No, I think no. Yeah. So user ID does not make any sense. Like, will this user ID will purchase or not? But we can, after identifying if this user purchase or not, then the user ID becomes valuable. Okay, then we can use then it becomes useful. Then we can use to attach like this. We can remember the user by user ID. But while predicting, the user ID is not useful. Okay, so this male gender column can be considered or cannot be considered, depends on us, right? Age makes a lot of difference. Might this male female or gender might not make so much difference, but this age makes difference. Like, this is the observation. Like, when you work on data, when you work more on these things, you will understand. And or when you like, if, even if you think, like, you will get what things matter more. Okay, so salary is a very good attribute to decide will they purchase or not, because we have to find, like, will they able to afford it or not. So we will consider these two columns for now. Okay, age and salary, because gender does not make more difference. Okay, uh, in majority of cases, that's my guess. Let's say we will consider only age and estimate. Okay, so X, what columns should we consider? Age and estimated columns. So we'll type those column names. Okay. Uh, like, if you find any struggle with this syntax or anything, then you can refer to older videos of pandas. Okay, where we have seen how we these columns and how we use those columns and all other ways of using this column. Okay. So this is a simple way. We have selected two columns from this data set. Okay. This data set is means all these columns. We have selected two columns, and the target variable, which is dependent variable, is purchased. Okay. So we will select that as well. Data set is purchased. Okay. Now we have like target and inputs. Uh, yeah, we need to pass it a list here. Now, now we have x and y dependent and independent. Okay, sorry. And now what we want is like, we have only 400 rows. Okay, in this case we have only 400 users data. Okay, user data of 400 people, and we don't have any other data. Okay, similar data. So what we will do is, we know that we need some data for testing as well, like after training. So we only have 400. So what should we do? We should split this 400 rows into two parts. Like, one we will use for training, another we will use for testing. Okay, because we don't have any other testing data separately. So let's split this data. Okay. Uh, for splitting, like, we have inbuilt methods. Okay, train, test, split. So we will first import them. Okay. So if you like don't know like how to import and what library from where to import, then you have to learn or remember some library names and their what things the content, if I speak about scikit-learn, sklearn, then it basically contains many things like models and their methods and all. Okay, so there is one scikit-learn which uses which contains models. So whichever model we are trying to use, random forest, is already there in the scikit-learn. So we need to learn to how to use that. Okay, so scikit-learn and sorry, model selection, import, trend test split. Okay. Um, yeah, should be good. Yeah. So you can remember or you can refer it on online. That you just don't need to worry about this important form. Okay, you just need to remember that there is this scikit-learn library or module which contains our required things, and you need to actually remember which things to import. Okay, I will share one doc where all this reference is like cheat sheet kind of thing, so you don't need to refer it on online. Okay, and I will share it after this session, so you can refer those. Okay, so now we have imported this library module, and now we can use this method. Okay, trying test split. So what we want is we want to split. We will use this trend test split. Okay, you can see that we have two variables, okay, right, x and y. So when we divide for training and testing, we need to do it in both, right, in the input data and in the target data as well. So we will pass for input and target data, and then we will specify how much portion should we keep for testing, and how much portion should we keep for training. Okay, so it depends on you. Standard is around 25 to 30%, or sorry, 10 to 30%. We will use 25. Okay, 0.25. So 0.25 means 25% would be for kept for testing, and remaining 75% would be kept for training. Okay, and yeah, that's all. So what we are doing is here we just pass the method. Okay, what if you know like how Python and method and functions work, then we know that this will return some output. Okay, this will return some variables. Okay, so we need to store those variables as well, because those variables would be used later. Okay, so what this training test split like returns means, after executing this method, what it brings, which we can assign to variables, is four things, like the two parts of x, two parts of y. Okay, so we will name those. Okay, let's say x train. Okay, then x test, then y train, and y test. Okay, equals. So what we are doing is we just it will just run this method trend test split. Whatever it returns, it will assign that thing to all these variables. Okay, all these four variables. Then we will refer this our for training we will refer this x train and y train, and for testing we will refer x test and y test. Okay. Yeah, it's done. Then if you know that pre-processing sometimes requires. Okay, so we need to do that as well, pre-processing, or we can, I think in this case we can omit that as well. Let's see that. Okay, let's see pre-processing. Okay. So what we want to do for pre-processing is we need to import something from scikit-learn which we can use for pre-processing. Okay. Standard scalar. If you know like scaling and yeah, feature scaling, then it would be helpful. Like we are just doing feature scaling here. Okay. Okay. So let me write this first. What we are doing here is we are like to use this standard scalar. We are creating an instance. Okay. So you just don't need to like you. I think you don't need to like worry about it. Even if you don't do this now, it works fine. And sometimes it might create problem, but it's better to learn this and use these things. Then we have this transformation we only do for x, y, x, because those are our inputs. Okay, those are our inputs. We do it for x train and x test as well. Okay, we do not need to do anything with uh, y because that is the output case. Okay, so we do not do anything with it. We just try to compare at the end. Okay, so yeah, these are some methods. Okay, transform, and there are basically two methods. One for fit transfer, which is for training, and another one is for just transfers, which can be used for test. Sorry, equals to st dot transform, and here x test. So what we are doing is we are passing this data x test and train to this method. Okay, which can be used using this class. Okay, this instance, and whatever after doing that transformation, we will again assigning it to the same variable. So basically we are just updating these values after which is we are updating these values with transformed values. Okay, so basically scaling is the what it does is it like maps the values these values into in between the 0 and 1 scale. Okay, scaling means it reduces the scale of these values between 0 and 1. Okay, I'm sorry, I just did a mistake here. Yeah. Okay, so we have just pre-processed the data, and then now we can we can use the model. Again, you need to like see that till now we just have done pre-processing. Okay, this splitting and all this, like considering x and y, then splitting the data and then scaling. Okay, until here it was pre-processing. I think I shouldn't write it here. It should be go here. Okay, and now what we do is we will create model. We will like not create, we will import model, and we will train model here. Okay, just model. And like again, as I said, scikit-learn has done many things. Like we do not need to create it from the scratch. Okay, we just need to learn how it works and how can we use it to like we do not need to like create the wheel again, right? So don't worry about this import statement. Like this might be confusing a whole like whole this statement, but do not worry about it. You will get it like these are basically a name of folder. This is a folder inside this folder, and then this is a file inside that folder. Okay, so that's how it works. uh, Classifier. Okay, so we are using, there are two like as I mentioned, one is classifier, one is regression. We like random forest has both, random forest can do both the task. Okay, but in the building this case, we this is in build. Okay, so whatever we have discussed here now, how to split this data samples and all. Okay, like further we only divided the data into train and test, but for in the training data we need to, like as I mentioned, that the data is split into small data samples, and there are multiple small there are multiple models, and all those samples different models are trained individually and all of that stuff. uh, these things we need to understand. Okay, but we do not need to create those all the things from the scratch. Okay, and as I mentioned, classification model contains major uses majority votes, and regression model uses average. Okay, so here it's basically two different what we can say two different models created already. One uses those majority votes, and another uses that average. Okay, so we will do in this case, we need to, because we need to identify if they, we need to classify actually that will they purchase or not. So we only have two outputs, okay, 0 and 1. So we will consider classifier. Okay, and we just imported the library. Now to use that model, what we can do is we can use this. Okay, this is a method to create a model instance. Let's say classifier. Okay, equals random forest classifier. Okay, now whatever we learned here. Okay, so there were some things which we needed to decide, right? The one was this n. Okay, like how many models do we need? Okay, so that thing we need to specify here. Well, we are creating importing the model, but there is a facility that we can control all the things which we need to control. Okay, like this, in this case, the number of models or number of data samples. So we have one variable which we need to use is sorry, number of estimators. Okay, number of estimators equals to let's say we can use 10. If you do not specify this thing now, then by default it uses 10. Okay, so you can change it as well, you can use 12 as well. Okay, and yeah, and one more criterion is entropy. If you have like any physics background, then you might know what entropy means. It basically um, picks the random, as we discussed here, that picks the random data points, right? And that we can specify from here, or we can omit it as well. Okay, there is no need, but we are, in this case we are using it. And then here what we have did is we just created the model. Okay, we haven't run it, and we just created the model, and now onwards we can refer this instance of the model using classifier. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to do this model on this classifier to fit to our training data, right? So we can do that using classifier. Sorry, classifier. I just did the mistake. Oh, classifier. Yeah. Here we need to rerun classifier. Right. Classifier dot fit. Why fit? Fit is the method to train the model. And for training, what we do, we do we give it training data, x trend and y trend, because we need, and this is supervised, so we also give training target on data as well. Okay, when we run it, like, done, it is and the model is now trained. Okay, it is that simple, because the random forest is not that complicated model. Okay, but it still it uses a lot of computation power. Then our model is trained. Now we need to do prediction. Okay, prediction, or we can say testing. Prediction. Mm. So there is one method. Okay, like for training it is fit. For predicting there is method called predict. Just that simple. Predict, sorry, dot, and we need to just only we need to give like while testing, obviously we do not give the target output, right? So we only need to give the test set, test data, okay, and only inputs only, not while test, right? Because that would be used at the end for comparing. So that just as simple, this is the method. But after prediction, like what this will do is it will make predictions, okay, and it will return predictions, like whatever it predicts. So we need to store it somewhere, whatever it returns, to compare later on, right? So let's say we call it y prediction, okay, and let's run this. All the predictions will be saved in this y predict. So now later we can uh, compare this. Let's see what it contains. Y predict, sorry, y predict. It contains the array. Okay, here it contains 1111. Let's see. So here we have predicted on X test, and now what we want is like this is done, right? We have training, we have tested. Now we want to evaluate. There are few methods. Like the simple basic one is to find that confusion matrix, like how many predictions it made correct and how many predictions it made um, wrong, right? So there is one table, confusion matrix method which we can use to see like if you are familiar, true, false, true negatives, true positive, like that, and false positive, false negative. That is basically confusion matrix. So we will use that to evaluate, okay, and to see the performance of our model, okay, after training and testing. After training, sorry. So for that as well, we need to import something from scikit-learn dot matrices. Sorry, import confusion matrix. Confusion matrix, right? Yeah. So we just imported, and now we will create. Let's say confusion matrix CM, and what we want, confusion matrix basically will compare two things. We need to give two things, and like it will just compare and show the difference, like what things are same, what things are different, okay. So now any guesses like what we will do? We will use this predicted values against the actual y test values, right? So let's pass this y test and y predict. Okay, so here you need to like see that the first one should be original output, okay. The first one should be original output. So on the basis of this, it will see that if this prediction is true in relation to this or not. Okay. So if there are two different, okay, and two different like the values in both of them are different, then which one is correct? So it must know like which one is true. So it considered the first one to be true, okay, and this one to be predict. So we need to pass these parameters in this order only. And then let's say see confusion matrix. So here what this thing is, this is matrix, okay. So there are true positive, true negative, false positive, false negative. Here this all like I just randomly picked that 12 number, right? But I do not know like how it will work. And as I mentioned, it is just try and error, right? So it showed me that like there are no false, sorry, no true. Or let's visualize, okay. Why? Sorry, why predict and why test. So these are all ones, right? um, just a moment. Yeah. So like these were the original values and these are the predicted values, all the ones. Then it should, yeah. What we it is showing is this one is like true. Sorry, this one has true, false, okay, or true ones. Here true false might be confusing. Let's say 0 and 1, okay, this is right prediction of 0, this is right prediction of 1, this is wrong prediction of 0, this is wrong prediction of 1, okay. So here in this case all the predicted values were 1, okay. So uh, we haven't predicted any zeros, right?
Please
Sorry.
check the chat box.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Mm. I got CMS. Confusion metric is 50. Yeah. So like you can like get different values, okay, on the basis of like this estimated numbers and entropy. Okay, entropy means random, right? So on our computers, like on different computers, the entropy basically is random, right? So there may be different cases, but how to interpret this is that these are like true zeros, okay, and these are true ones, okay, like true zero predictions, like the real output was 0 and the predicted output was also 0, those are this, okay, and this is the true output was 1, the predicted output was also 1. How many how many of those cases are there? So there are 65 cases where true output was 1 and the predicted output was also 1, okay, and here this one is the true output was 0 and the predicted output was also 0, right? Those cases. Here the false output, like the true output was 1 but the output was 0, like the predicted output was 0. This is like if you say false 1, okay, false 0, which means 1 only, okay. So those cases where the one should be there but there was 0, so there are no cases where one should be there but there were zeros, okay. And here false ones means there false one means 0, right? And there should be 0 but there was 1, this case is there, so there was 35. So you can predict interpret this four things. These are true, this is called confusion matrix, like there are true predictions and false predictions, okay. And as I mentioned that, mm, if this was it's really confusing, okay. True, let's say 1 and 0 is positive and negative, okay. So 0 is negative, 1 is positive, okay. So true negative, true zeros, um I'm sorry, did you get it or not? uh, this is basically zeros, this is ones, okay. This one second column is 1 and first column is zeros, okay. And now row wise, the first row is true, the second row is false, okay. So now if you let's see here, okay, confusion matrix, it's really confusing. uh, let's say let's say these are zeros, okay, and these are ones, okay. These are the predicted values, okay. And these are the predicted values, and these are true and false, okay. And true and false means it should be 0 and it should be 1. So you can also say that these were true values, okay, or these were actual values which were in the y test, actual values you can say, actual. Just forgot me for my handwriting, okay. And this one is predict, okay. So actual value 0 and predicted value was also 0. How many cases are there? So there are 0 cases, okay, in our case, because none of them were predicted 1, right? So how this like a 0 was true and 0 was predicted, so there are no cases like that. And here real actual value was 1, but predicted value was 0. So how many cases are there? 0, because we haven't predicted 0, right? We haven't predicted 0 anywhere. Okay, you can see this here. In your case, there might be another number, right? Then you can interpret that this many cases were there. In case of Yash, it is showing 9, right, in this box. So it means that the actual value was 1, but it predicted 0, right? So how many cases are there? There are 9 cases where 1 was actual value, but prediction was 0. And similarly here, the actual value was 0, but we predicted that it is 1. Okay, and the here the actual value was 1, and we also predicted 1. Okay, so this is how it works, like true, false, true, negative. Like I just got a little bit got confused. Okay, so it can be true positive, true negative. We need to see. Okay, so this is basically the case that uh, that positive, false positive, okay, and false negative, or true positive, true negative, or you can just consider the values. Okay, like this was actual and this was predicted. So how many cases are there? This was actual, this was predicted. How many cases are there? Like that, you can interpret. Okay, so this is basically confusion matrix. So here my case was so bad that it predicted all the ones. Okay, we can like change this one sorry number of estimators, and we might get some else the values. Okay, so let's say I change it to 10, and then I again uh, test. Okay, and again predict, and again find the confusion matrix. It is giving me same. Why is it that? I think maybe because of this entropy. Or you on your computer you might get different values for confusion matrix. Okay, so that's not a problem. It depends on different computers. So that actually doesn't make any difference. So that is how you can like predict, and after that you can compare. So the main step was to consider these things, like how to import these models. Okay, first of all, we have to do pre-processing, right? We need to pre-process, like how to identify which inputs to consider, which inputs to not consider, right? And which should be the target output column. So we need to understand that how to identify those columns. Then how to like we also need to keep this in mind. Train test, we need like testing data separately. That's why. Then pre-processing, that's also there. And after that, we in this case like mostly varies. Okay, for different models of this model part. Okay, so you need to like I will provide you cheat sheet where how to like use different models. So all different models like linear regression might be in another folder. Okay, and that not might be in ensemble, because ensemble contains the combination of models. So and this part might different, and this parameter is also different from model to model. So you need to just understand the flow of structure, like how to like start from data. Okay, then identifying useful data, and like splitting, training, testing, then importing the model, using the model. Like first we import it. Okay, and then we create an instant, right? Then we fit. Okay, the fit is basically training method. This would be like same for all the models, right? Then we need to see that how to predict. This also will be same for all models. So this like the main purpose of doing all this hands-on is to identify like how should we structure, or how should we start, and how should we proceed, like what steps should we do. Okay, now if you want to use any other model, okay, then this part might be maybe differ. Okay, but most of the part would be same, like first splitting, and then after selecting model, like creating predictions, and then confusion matrix. There are also multiple alternatives as well. Like for classification, we basically use confusion matrix because it's simple entry level. Okay, then there are multiple other matrices in the matrix folder. Okay, so we need to see the main steps, like what to do and how to do. Okay, so basically for all the things what we did, we needed to we needed here some estimator to measure the performance of the model, right? So we need something to measure the performance. So there are matrices we can use. There are different matrices, multiple matrices. You can find many matrices in this scikit-learn. Okay, and there are multiple models as well, so you can find multiple models. So basically if you want to now implement any other type of model other than random forest, so you can easily now play with the code, play with this structure, and you can use another model from another library, right? And the basic steps are same to follow, right? So after all we predict, and then main options are varies at two stages: selecting model and then evaluating model. So for evaluation there are multiple things. Okay, and this parameters, we have only one parameter here because it's very simple model, right? Random forest. So as you will learn different models, there would be different attributes and will also there, and for those attributes there would be the detail would be there while we use those. If you just write random forest now, it will show that what attributes are we can provide to this. Okay, you can also learn it from here, right? After just by reading, let's say, yeah, you can see this here, right? These all are the list of attributes which we can use. Okay, so you need to clear the concept elsewhere in the internet, right? uh, all of these attributes are not important at this first step, right? So as you will learn, you will learn to implement or use all these features, okay, or all these attributes. So that's how we do this, that's how we create a, and starting from data to prediction and evolution. That is the basic what we can say. Any we can create any implement any model using these steps. Okay, so if any further, if you want to implement this in any project now, you can do easily do it, right? You can there are some one or two simple steps again to save this model and all, but I think you can also save it as well. Like classifier was our name of the model, right? Classifier dot save, and then here give the name of the file. There are there is a special like uh, type of file which is md5, sorry, fd5, yeah, df5, yeah, something like that. So there is a simple method. You can save the model and you can use that model again. So you don't need to retrain the model. Okay, once you train the model, and if you want to use the model again for testing, so you don't have to train it again and again. You directly can test the model. So it is like other parts are just for integrating with other code. Other, if you are creating any application or something, then you can basically get use this much part into your application. That you can just need to, some tools or to just integrate this model. But the model part, the basic dedicated part to machine learning model, is only these steps. Okay, so I think now you might you have the idea like how to create any model, any other model. We have also seen linear regression model, how to create and how to how to create and how to implement the linear regression model in another video. You can find it in the GDSC AUM YouTube channel. Okay, you can see that. So I think now you might have a pretty much clear idea how to write a code, how to code a model, how to code a machine learning algorithm or machine learning model. So is there any doubt till now? Any doubt? No. Okay, all right. Then I think that's all for today for learning. Then we can now move forward to how to Tushar will continue with how you can participate in the competition and what you have to do for the competition and to win. So
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you, Smith. Am I audible?
yes, Tushar, you are audible.
Yes, I'll just share my screen and show you how you can fork that repository and how you can make the changes.
Sure, Tushar.
Thank you. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, so what you need to do is, first of all, you need to fork this particular repository. So I'll just fork it in TS 297 2002. So yeah, this particular repository is forked. Now what I will do is I'll just uh, copy this particular code, this particular line from here, and what you can do is just go to any of the locations over here. Okay, click over here and press CMD and type CMD. Another method for doing is uh, you need to go to the CMD and change the directories, and accordingly you can shift to, for example, I'm shifting to D directory, so I'll write D semicolon. And for this, what you need to do is you first need to install git bash in your systems. I'll be providing you the link. This needs to be downloaded in the Windows. It's a very simple installation. You just need to keep all the changes which are being recommended, and that's all. So once you open your command prompt, so after that you need to type this command, which is git clone, and then just copy paste the line which you have copied and press enter. So what it will do is it will just make a folder in your location, in that particular location, and it will have all the contents, okay, which are there in that particular repository. So now what you can do is you need to open this and you can make any changes. So what I'll do is I'll make a very small change over here. What I'll write is all the best from GDSC AUM. This is what I'm doing, and I'm saving my changes. Okay, now it's saved. Control S. I'll close it. I'll come to this location, okay, where the data set and the README is mentioned. I'll just go into that particular folder, which is ML Bootcamp. Sorry, I'll just go to this particular folder and I'll type ML Bootcamp. So it is, yeah, it is ML Bootcamp. I'll go inside the folder. The first thing which I need to do is uh, I'll write git add space and full stop. So what does this mean? This means that you are going to add all the files, okay, in which you have made the changes. I press enter. Yeah. So now after adding the files, the next step is to commit the files, and one message needs to be displayed. So for example, if you are doing it in your case, so what you will write, git commit hyphen m, and in double inverted brackets you need to write your name. So my name is Tushar Sharma. I'll write Tushar Sharma and I'll press enter. Okay, so this is what you are going to face. What you need to do is you need to configure your GitHub ID on your desktop. So for this, simply just copy this particular command, Control C, Control V, paste it. So here you need to mention your mail ID. So in this case, my mail ID is 297 2002 at the rate gmail.com. Okay, I'll run this, and after that, you need to write your username of your GitHub ID. So how will you find it? Just go here, just go to github.com, and here you will find your ID. Mine is 297 to a TS 297 2002. So what I'll do is I'll just write it here. Okay, yeah. So this is done, and you need to simply do git push. That's all. So this will, for this you need to sign in through your okay. Now git push, everything is up to date. I'll do once again, git push, everything up to date. Okay, so it's done. Now if you want to create a pull request, okay, as I have mentioned it in the steps, okay, what you need to do is you need to fork this repository. I've already forked. You need to add your name, semester, university name in the README file, and then you have to push your project in the forked repository. I've already pushed it. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll make a pull request. So how can you make a pull request? There is no new commits. Okay. So I guess I need to make a few more changes. Okay. What I'll do is I'll just add a new file over here, new text document. I'll name it as uh, GDSC AUN. Okay. So I'll just write some content in this particular file. Okay. So I'll write ML bootcamp competition GDSC AUM, and submission deadline is 10th of Jan 2022. Okay. So this is what I have done. I'll just check once again. Okay. Now it has proper content. Now what I'll do is now I'll add it again. Git add, git commit, and so this is my commit. So I'll write Tushar Sharma again, my name, enter. Two, as you can see, two files have changed and four insertions and one deletion. So that means I've added one new file and I've added some content. Now what you need to do is simply git push. Okay, sorry, it's git push. Yeah. Okay. Now all my changes have been pushed into the repository. Now if I refresh it, okay, as you can see, Tushar Sharma, 24 seconds ago, one commit. Now what you need to do is the last step is creating a pull request. So how will you do it? So click over here, click on contribute, open pull request. Okay, so what I'll do is, okay, this is my pull request, and now I'll click on create a pull request. So in the comments, what you need to do is make sure that you write your name, Tushar Sharma, your semester, which is -5, your course, minus BTech CSE, and your university name. So it is Amity University, Mumbai. So this is what you need to do, okay? As well as you need to write your email ID. We will be contacting you through your email ID, gmail.com, and after that create a pull request. Simple. Okay, now as you can see, I have already created my pull request. Now if I check, how will am I going to check that whether you have created it or not? So here's how I'll check. So as you can see, over here on our side, I can see Tushar Sharma has created a pull request. Okay, so we will check your code, and after that we will merge your pull request in the main branch. That's how we are going to do it. So this is how you need to submit your projects, and we will be providing you the complete documentation and a video how you can use GitHub for uploading your project. So that's all for today, and I would like to thank each and every person for attending these sessions. So we will be circulating one feedback form, and we want all of you to fill that feedback form. So thanks for joining. Goodbye.